welcome to episode 35 of your CYSA Plus Prepcast. In this session, we shift our focus to dynamic malware analysis platforms, also known as sandboxing environments. These powerful tools allow cybersecurity analysts to safely execute and observe potentially malicious files in isolated environments without the risk of damaging production systems. By capturing real-time behaviors and interactions, sandboxing reveals a depth of insight unavailable through static file inspection alone. Mastering the use of sandbox platforms is essential for malware investigation, incident response, and advanced threat detection. This skill set is frequently assessed on the CYSA Plus exam and plays a central role in real-world analysis workflows. Let's begin by defining what dynamic malware analysis means. Unlike static inspection, which analyzes a file's structure without execution, dynamic analysis involves running a suspicious file in a controlled environment and monitoring what it does. These environments, or sandboxes, are purpose-built to simulate real systems, complete with operating systems, applications, and even user interactions. Analysts use these simulations to observe everything from network traffic and registry changes to file creation and process execution. The goal is to safely reveal what the file is truly programmed to do once active. Popular sandboxing platforms include Joe Sandbox, Cuckoo Sandbox, AnyRun, Hybrid Analysis, and Palo Alto Network's Wildfire. Each of these tools offers its own set of features, from detailed behavioral reporting to integration with threat intelligence systems. Joe Sandbox, for example, provides in-depth process trees and interaction analysis, while Cuckoo Sandbox is open source and highly customizable for in-house malware lab. AnyRun allows interactive analysis, where analysts can simulate user clicks or system behavior. On the CYSA Plus exam, you may be asked to choose which type of sandboxing solution best fits a particular investigation need or how to interpret behavioral results. Sandboxes provide a safe way to identify malware indicators that only become visible during execution. These indicators include attempted command and control communications, unexpected network connections, file encryption behaviors, registry modifications, and persistence techniques. For example, ransomware may not appear suspicious when inspected statically, but when detonated in a sandbox, it reveals its intention by encrypting sample documents, deleting shadow copies, and calling external IPs. Analysts rely on these behavioral clues to generate detection rules, block malicious infrastructure, and prioritize incident response. A major output of sandboxing is the behavioral report. These reports detail everything the sample did during execution, from API calls to memory allocations. Screenshots capture changes to the desktop, while PCAP files log every network interaction the malware attempted. Memory dumps allow further analysis of runtime behaviors and payload unpacking. Process execution logs show which binaries were launched and what commands were passed to them. These reports give analysts a forensic-grade view of how the malware functions. CYSA Plus questions may include segments of these reports and ask you to draw conclusions or determine the next steps in analysis. Network captures from sandboxing are especially valuable. Analysts use these to identify external command and control servers, malicious IP addresses, domain names used in beaconing, and protocols used for exfiltration. Once these indicators are identified, analysts update firewall rules, block lists, and threat intelligence feeds to prevent similar attacks. For example, if malware attempts to contact a specific IP over port 443, that IP can be flagged and blocked organization-wide. You may be asked on the exam how to act on sandbox-generated PCAP data, or how to automate its integration with perimeter defenses. Another critical component is the behavioral artifacts captured during execution. These include dropped payloads, created files, registry keys, scheduled tasks, or modified startup entries. Analysts examine these artifacts to create highly specific detection signatures. A unique FINAML or path used by malware, for instance, might serve as an indicator of compromise. These signatures are then implemented in EDR platforms, SIEMs, and antivirus engines. On the exam, you might be asked to choose which artifact should be used for creating a detection rule or how to verify whether a machine has been infected. Analysts often correlate Sandbox findings with other sources such as static analysis results, threat intelligence indicators, and host-based alerts. For instance, a static scan may flag a file as suspicious based on a known hash, while the Sandbox confirms malicious behavior like credential theft or lateral movement. Correlating this data gives a complete view of the threat's intent, behavior, and infrastructure. Exam questions may require you to interpret multiple data sources and build a case for malware classification based on Sandbox outputs. Dynamic analysis is especially useful for identifying evasive behaviors. Many malware variants include sandbox detection logic, checking for virtual environments, looking for known analysis tools, or delaying payload execution until after a time threshold. Analysts monitor these signs to understand how advanced the malware is and what defensive strategies it uses. Evasion tactics might include checking for mouse movement, counting CPU cores, or using time-based triggers. CySA plus scenarios may ask how to detect evasion, or what signs indicate a sample is attempting to avoid sandbox execution. To counter evasion, analysts configure sandbox environments with realistic system settings. This includes using operating systems that mirror enterprise deployments, installing common applications like Microsoft Office or web browsers, and simulating user behaviors such as opening documents or browsing websites. Sandboxes can also be set to allow limited internet access so that malware can reach its command and control servers, ensuring behavior is captured accurately. You may be asked how to tune a sandbox for maximum realism or which configurations improve behavioral capture. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. With a strong understanding of sandboxing platforms, behavioral reports, and evasive malware techniques, we now turn our attention to how dynamic analysis integrates into the broader cybersecurity workflow. This second half of the episode focuses on how analysts operationalize sandbox data, conduct proactive threat hunts, integrate with automated platforms, and collaborate across teams to build a strong response ecosystem. These real-world applications are not only critical for passing the CySA Plus exam, but also for building long-term resilience against advanced and evasive malware threats. One of the most practical benefits of sandboxing is its accessibility through cloud-based platforms. Cloud services like VirusTotal and Hybrid Analysis offer dynamic execution capabilities that do not require local infrastructure, making them ideal for fast, scalable malware triage. These services often include historical community submissions, reputation scores, and shared indicators of compromise. This collective intelligence supports faster attribution and more informed incident response. Analysts often submit suspicious files discovered during email investigations, network alerts, or user reports directly to these platforms. Expect exam questions that ask how cloud sandboxing differs from local deployment, or when to leverage external analysis services. Sandboxing solutions integrate deeply with enterprise systems such as security information and event management platforms, security orchestration, automation, and response platforms, and endpoint detection and response tools. When a suspicious file is detected by EDR, it can automatically be submitted to the sandbox for behavioral analysis. Once the sandbox confirms malicious behavior, such as ransomware activity or credential dumping, the results can trigger automated SOAR workflows. These workflows may include isolating endpoints, updating firewall rules, blocking domains, and notifying analysts. On the CySA Plus exam, you may be asked to select how sandbox findings are routed through SOAR playbooks, or how SIMs incorporate dynamic file verdicts. Threat hunting efforts are also enhanced by sandboxing platforms. Analysts often identify suspicious files or behaviors through passive network monitoring or host-based anomaly detection. These samples are then submitted to sandboxes to confirm whether they are malicious. By observing execution in real time, threat hunters uncover payloads, network destinations, or tactics that were previously unknown. This intelligence feeds directly into detection rule updates, indicator lists, and hypothesis-driven investigations. You may be asked on the exam how to use sandbox outputs during a hunt, or which behavioral artifacts should be prioritized for indicator extraction. One of the most valuable contributions of sandboxing is its ability to detect and expose advanced persistent threat behaviors and malware that cannot be reliably analyzed statically. These threats often employ staged payloads, encrypted droppers, or dynamic linking to delay execution. A sandbox with extended observation time and real-world system simulation can reveal second-stage payloads, credential theft, lateral movement attempts, or fileless activity. Analysts learn which behaviors indicate targeted attacks, such as spear phishing with macros that download additional executables or scripts that inject malicious code into browser memory. Expect CySA+ scenarios that explore behavioral chains and require interpretation of time-dailied or multi-stage execution. Persistence is a common goal of sophisticated malware, and sandboxing is ideal for detecting such techniques. Malware might create scheduled tasks, modify registry keys, drop files in startup directories, or install browser extensions to maintain access. Analysts review sandbox logs to identify these actions, extract persistence indicators, and verify whether endpoints are exhibiting similar behaviors. These findings contribute to endpoint detection signatures and post-infection remediation checklists. On the exam, you may be required to determine which registry modifications indicate persistence or which behaviors should trigger further forensic analysis. Machine learning and artificial intelligence are increasingly being built into sandbox platforms to detect subtle anomalies in advanced malware techniques. These engines compare behaviors across thousands of samples to identify previously unseen activity. For instance, a file that exhibits slightly altered execution flow from known malware families may still be flagged as malicious based on anomaly scoring. Analysts use these insights to prioritize reviews, identify novel threats, and generate early warning indicators. On the exam, you may encounter questions on how machine learning improves sandbox analysis and how analysts should act on probabilistic verdicts. To maintain relevance against rapidly evolving malware, analysts regularly update sandbox configuration profiles, detection rules, and behavior analysis models. This includes tuning analysis durations, enabling deeper monitoring of memory and APIs, and configuring system profiles that mirror enterprise environments. Analysts also refine automated alert thresholds to reduce noise while maintaining coverage for low and slow attacks. You may be tested on how to adapt sandbox settings for specific malware types or how environment profiles influence behavior capture. Documentation is a core component of any malware analysis practice. Analysts thoroughly document the sandboxed sample, execution logs, indicators of compromise, observed behaviors, and remediation guidance. This documentation supports knowledge sharing across teams, contributes to malware databases, and assists in developing training exercises. It also satisfies audit and compliance requirements. For example, reports may include exact process command lines, network indicators, dropped file hashes, and persistence mechanisms. On the exam, you may be asked which data points must be included in sandbox reporting or how documentation improves incident response. Sandboxing is also a key element in training and ongoing skill development. Analysts use real-world samples in controlled environments to practice identifying execution patterns, interpreting logs, and building detection rules. Red team and blue team exercises often use sandbox data to test response playbooks and evaluate detection accuracy. Practicing with sandbox platforms helps analysts stay proficient in recognizing new tactics and verifying defense effectiveness. You may be tested on how sandbox training contributes to threat detection readiness, or which lab exercises simulate malware execution effectively. Finally, collaboration across cybersecurity functions is vital. Malware analysts work closely with threat intelligence teams to share findings on new campaigns, with incident responders to guide containment efforts, and with detection engineers to improve alert logic. Sandbox outputs provide a common reference point for these teams, helping coordinate actions across investigation, response, and prevention. Analysts also contribute to threat research communities, sharing sandbox results and IoCs to improve global defenses. On the CySA+ exam, expect questions that connect sandbox outputs to other workflows and emphasize the importance of cross-team communication. To conclude episode 35, dynamic malware analysis platforms offer cybersecurity analysts a secure and effective method for uncovering the true behavior of malicious files. Whether deployed locally or in the cloud, Sandboxing reveals execution paths, communication attempts, evasion techniques, and payload details that enhance detection and guide response. Integrating these platforms into SIEMs, SOAR tools, and hunting workflows maximizes their value across your organization. Prepare for the CySA Plus exam by understanding how Sandbox reports are generated, how behaviors map to threat indicators, and how analysts use these insights to secure the enterprise. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the Prepcast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.